This is a mock interview conducted by ForumIAS Academy at New Delhi. The interview panel includes eminent academicians, retired bureaucrats, and other luminaries. The objective of the program is to acquaint the candidate with the format and expectations of the personality test conducted by UPSC.
May I come?
Come, please come.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Malvika. Please sit down.
Thank you, ma'am.
How are you today?
I'm good, ma'am. Thank you.
So you are in the income tax, huh?
Yes.
And where are you posted?
I'm presently posted in Mangalore, ma'am.
Mangalore?
Yes.
Okay. As what?
I'm posted as Assistant Commissioner of Income Tax in the jurisdictional charge of Mangalore.
Okay. Who are the biggies there that you tax? Who are your big assessees?
Big assessees, we have a Karnataka bank and there is Mangalore Refineries Petroleum Limited. Then NMPT, which is New Mangalore Port Trust. These are the top three.
So two are PSUs and one is a private, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. So you are a very multifaceted personality, Malvika, and you do Bharatnatyam. I'm curious to know if you come from Kerala. Why did you not do Mohiniyattam?
Yes, ma'am. So there are two reasons, ma'am. One is that which was in my control, where I was more attracted to Bharatnatyam because Bharatnatyam is the perfect balance of energy as well as grace according to me, whereas Mohiniyattam embodies a Lasya concept more.
A what concept?
A Lasya, more feminine, graceful.
And Bharatnatyam is masculine?
Bharatnatyam has both Tandav as well as Lasya concepts.
And what is the difference between Bharatnatyam and Kuchipudi?
Kuchipudi has a different origins where it started from...
No, in terms of this concepts.
Ma'am, I feel Kuchipudi is even more masculine in nature, where you have more energies, because initially it was performed only by male artists, ma'am.
Okay.
So,
and what about Odissi? Odissi is more graceful and feminine and everything.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Odissi is more feminine and graceful, ma'am.
So you didn't go for anything more feminine and graceful?
Secondly, ma'am, that was the other issue. It was just external to me. There was more availability of classes of Bharatnatyam.
Oh,
Odissi.
Even in Kottayam?
Yes, even in Kerala, they start with Bharatnatyam, then they move you to other styles, ma'am.
Okay, very interesting. And I was very intrigued by the colors in Kathakali. The greens and the reds, what do they stand for?
Yes, ma'am. The different colors have a correlation with the character they are supposed to portray, ma'am. So there is this Pacha Vesham, which is the green characters, which is usually preferred for heroes. Then the red colors or black colors are preferred for villains, etc.
And which is this temple where they say that you get the Bharatnatyam poses are drawn from?
Ma'am, I believe it's the Tanjore temple. Brihadeshwar temple.
That's right. Have you been there?
Yes, ma'am, once.
In the Gopuram, you have all those various poses.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're a chemical engineer, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me, what ails the API sector in India and what would you do to improve it? Say, supposing you are Secretary, Government of India in the Ministry of Chemicals and Petrochemicals. So what would you do to improve the condition of the API sector? You understand what APIs are, of course. Do you know APIs? Active pharmaceutical ingredients?
Yes,
which is the main active ingredient of a medicine?
Yes, ma'am.
For drug? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know the issues of the API sector? You don't know.
Ma'am, I'm aware of one of the issues where we are dependent for a lot of imports from China.
That's the result, yeah. Quite
yes,
right.
ma'am.
But what will you do?
Ma'am, I think...
Why has it happened, first of all?
Ma'am, I think for bulk drugs manufacture, we do not have that much.
It's called this. Its API is only called bulk drug loosely.
Ma'am, I believe we do not have because we are dependent on imports from China.
No, why are we dependent on imports? We are the pharmacy of the world.
Yes, ma'am. I think we have not invested in manufacturing those basic ingredients, ma'am.
Okay, my next question to you. You read the newspapers. So what is happening in the stock market with the Adani stocks? What is it? Do you think SEBI has failed completely?
I don't think SEBI has failed completely.
So why did they not give the green signal, the red signals earlier, early warning system? that this is going to happen. Because the issues that have come out are that there's manipulation of stock prices, there's round tripping, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
so
ma'am.
this is what SEBI is for. It's a watchdog for the stock market.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I believe there is a need for a proper investigation into this. So an independent investigation has to be conducted.
No, that's all very well. But why independent? Why not SEBI? SEBI is for this work only.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So why is the Supreme Court getting into it? Sorry, taking your question. Why is the Supreme Court getting into it when SEBI, that means they say that there's no faith in SEBI? Otherwise, SEBI's work, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I believe in retrospect, perhaps we could have said that SEBI could have taken the steps to find this out. But now that it is the
No
information...
retrospect, that's the work of SEBI. My last question to you. Supposing you are JS budget, what would you opt for? Deficit financing and growth or fiscal consolidation? Which of the two would you opt for today? And just one sentence, why?
Ma'am, presently in the state of economy, I think the focus should be on deficit financing and growth, ma'am.
Why?
Because India is in that phase of growth where if we invest properly right now, we can reap the benefits later.
Thank you.
Malavika,
Yes, sir.
your option was sociology, right?
Yes, sir.
You must have read then M.N. Srinivas.
Yes, sir.
In M.N. Srinivas's study, the name of the village is a fictitious name, Rampura, right?
Yes.
Why did you opt for that fictitious name? Why didn't he go for the actual name?
Sir, one reason is generally this is a practice in scientific communities where they might adopt fictitious names even for individuals. If I'm presenting a case study, I will adopt fictitious names. It could be one reason. Secondly,
Is there a specific terminology or methodology for this? What is that? Where you don't take the name?
I'm not aware of the exact names.
Okay. So, post Sri Lanka crisis, this term was quite in news, sovereign default. So what is this sovereign default?
Sir, I think sovereign default is the case where a sovereign government fails to meet its debt obligations.
So to whom? Where governments take loan or money?
They can take from the public, which is internal debt, but mostly this is used in context of international, if they are taking from international.
Say government has taken loan from the public and refused to pay back.
Yes, sir.
Can it be termed as sovereign default?
I'm not sure, sir.
Okay, post Sri Lankan crisis, RBI had published a report on fiscal conditions of Indian states. Have you read that report?
No, sir, I have not gone through the report itself.
Any general idea about that report?
Sir, I am aware of the reports that there are certain states in which the debt is higher, like in Kerala, that is the issue which is there.
What suggestion would you give to these states whose fiscal conditions are not good?
Sir, I think they need a medium term as well as a long term plan in which how they can rationalize their expenditures, pay their interest and debt obligations, as well as focus on their priority sectors of growth.
Any three concrete steps?
Sir, I think we will have to follow certain limits on how much they can borrow for the time being so that debt doesn't accumulate. Secondly, I think union government has also given interest-free loans. So such alternative mechanisms of financing can be looked at.
So your interest lies in MBTI test, right? Who has created this MBTI test?
Sir, it is based on psychologist Carl Jung's work, but it was systematized into a framework by two psychologists, Meyer, Briggs, which stands for MBTI.
Okay, when we talk about this personality types of Carl Jung, it is very closely related to attitude types, right? How is it related? How Carl Jung has associated the personality type that he has created with attitude of a person? You must have studied attitude, right?
Sir, yes, sir. But I'm not aware of the specific types of attitudes which you are
How these personality types are related with attitude of a person, according to Carl Jung?
Sir, I believe Carl Jung followed this idea where there were certain what was systematically later called on as cognitive functions. So these are the tendencies of people to use certain way of thinking generally, because they use it more frequently. This becomes a part of their attitude. You use it more frequently, it becomes a part of their attitude. So based on that, they have categorized different cognitive functions, around 16 of them, and if you put them in up and down order, you will get a total of 16 personalities. So I believe the attitude comes from the order or the tendency by which you practice these.
Thank you.
Malvika, to collect that tax you were talking just about,
Yes.
what is that term used? That the expenditure you do for collecting the tax?
I'm not sure, sir. Tax expenditure, I'm not sure, sir.
Okay, you are from Kerala. Why Kerala is called as the model for local governance?
Sir, I can think of two reasons. Firstly, because of the general literacy levels as well as education levels, people are more aware of their political rights. Secondly, local self-governments are active there. So there is a lot of grassroots organizations.
Are they
which
empowered
came-
enough?
It depends, sir. In certain, I think there are exceptions throughout Kerala. In certain local self-governments, you can see a lot of initiative where they have taken the drive and they have achieved remarkable results. For example, there is this Iraviperur Taluk in my district. But that is an exception, sir.
Okay. As a sociology student, do you think that we had made a mistake while after independence we were drafting the constitution, that we abolished untouchability but we continued with casteism?
Sir, there is, sir, if this is taken, I think it is to ask whether caste system should have been abolished or not in the constitution. Sir, I think it is practically very difficult to abolish caste system because it is a system which has been continued for 2000 years. But the inhumane aspects of it, which was the practice of untouchability, had to be definitely banned, sir. So practicing caste system as an identity to an extent might not have certain human right violations, or the implications could not be that
So you
severe.
are suggesting that it might continue for another 500 years, 1000 years.
It is possible, sir.
So if we were to abolish it, what 3 suggestions would you give?
Sir, to abolish caste system, I think the steps we can take is one, the bedrock of caste system is that marrying within the caste. So the
Intercaste marriages, okay.
So intercaste marriages is the prime factor that should be promoted, sir. Secondly, caste identities are getting stronger. So we should create counter narratives. But we can see certain, this is changing, especially with urbanization and globalization. Consumerist patterns are coming, or one's class patterns are becoming more prominent.
Let's stick to 3 suggestions here. One is we are done with.
One is intercaste marriage. Secondly, I think is to reduce the identity of reduce the caste identity by creating through the formation of new identities.
Okay, great. Third,
I think that certain symbols which are used with caste can be reduced so that caste as itself doesn't show up in the
give
consciousness.
me an example.
For example, using of caste in the name plates as fashion, such kind of things. Sir.
Great. Okay. So you have done your chemical engineering as well. So what are the issues with lithium-ion batteries?
Lithium reserves are very limited in India. Recently, we had a report, it was discovered in Kashmir. Otherwise, we are very dependent on imports. So therefore, it is better to look into
Not
other
just in
options.
India, globally we are looking for alternatives. So globally the lithium reserves are very less, or what?
No, sir. Lithium is available in South America, China, these areas as well. So it is so to reduce dependence on these countries. We have other options as well as for example, solid state batteries can be developed. So I think the idea is to diversify our options and
What are solid
reduce.
state batteries?
These are solid state batteries are another alternative where they use two different metals for generating current instead of
Why are
using
they
lithium.
called solid state?
I think because in traditional batteries, the liquid is the electrolyte, which is the medium there.
Great.
Here you have
Okay,
both
my last
solids.
question to you. If you were to choose between giving or starting with universal basic income or urban employment guarantee, what would you choose?
Sir, I think in the present context of India, I would go for urban employment guarantee, sir.
Why?
Sir, because the issue with universal basic income is that it can be spent for personal expenditure without creating any value for that individual, whereas an employment is a sure guarantee that they will earn that livelihood.
But there have been allegations while do you think that the rural version of employment guarantee is doing well?
Sir, I believe it has contributed much more than if it had not been there. Yes, sir.
Okay, Malvika. Thank you. Sir.
So, Malvika,
Yes, sir.
is there a code of ethics for revenue service officers?
Code of ethics, I have not read, sir.
Let's assume that there is not. Okay. So, if you have to prepare a code of ethics for revenue service officers, which will be the first three things that you will write in that code of ethics?
Sir, I believe honesty and integrity and professionalism. These three
Honesty,
values.
integrity, and professionalism. Okay. I'm assuming that you are reading newspapers.
Yes, sir.
The appointment of one judge has become recently in some sections of media a little bit controversial.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And with related to that particular appointment, some loopholes have come to surface with regard to collegium system.
Yes, sir.
What are those?
Sir, one of the issues highlighted was regarding the appointment of this particular judge. The process, there are no timelines with the process by which the executive should take up the
This
suggestion.
particular case, it was fantastic, but some other loopholes have been surfaced, very pertinent ones with regard to judiciary.
Sir, the usual problem with the collegium system that it is not
That
transparent.
is okay, but some technical loopholes have surfaced. Are you aware?
No, sir, I am aware.
No problem. No problem. Okay. If I say that there is one thing which doesn't abide by the majority rule, it is conscience. Do you think it is right?
Sir, I think a person's conscience can be shaped by social values as well as his individual values, sir.
Okay, so it abides by the majority rule, conscience also.
It can possibly.
So if in your case personally, if there is a crisis of conscience between to abide with conscience and to abide with law, what will you choose?
Sir, I believe it depends on the situation, but I think my tendency would be to abide by the conscience.
Okay, and you might overlook the law.
And
So
again,
in your career, have you ever faced such crisis of conscience? Or not only in career, in your life in general?
I cannot recall one right now, sir.
Okay, okay. So you practice Kung Fu, green belt sports. So why only green belt are you practicing it now? Or?
No, sir, my practice has been.
Okay. Do you think Gandhiji would have approved of your sport? Suppose he was your guardian and you have to ask money from Gandhiji and you say, Gandhiji, I want some money for Kung Fu, to learn Kung Fu. Would he have given you the money?
Sir, I think I have a case to convince him,
Okay.
sir.
What is that case?
Sir, why I felt attracted to Kung Fu was that the philosophy of Kung Fu is that it incorporates meditation as well as internal practices, where the defense is not to attack someone. It's not based on certain militaristic style like judo, where you are attacking the other person first. It is rather to defend and protect, sir.
So defend and protect, Kung Fu. So my last question to you is about women in active combat role in army. What is your opinion on that?
Sir, I think we should promote women coming to active combat roles in army, sir.
And why are there some apprehensions in different quarters?
One is the traditional doubt whether women can physically survive in such roles or physically rise up to the occasion. Secondly, the apprehensions are whether if they are taken as prisoners of war, the chances of violence against them are much
Don't
more
you think
higher.
these apprehensions are rightly placed?
Yes, sir. There are some merits to these apprehensions, but we can identify certain combat roles where women can be perhaps more suitable. For example, if it's a long-range fighting, women can possibly play a good role.
Okay. So thank you, Malvika. That's all from my side.
But the best thing about you is the board ends up liking you because you radiate a naturalness, you radiate a thinking individual. A little bit of preparation would be needed. Okay? All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.